All right, welcome everyone to the Eighth Man All Campus Fantasy Draft GM Statements. I'm Ethan Warren, and with me are all of our GMs today, except one. Kobe Kendall could not be here, so I will be supplying his GM statement, which he recorded. Everyone's going to have 5 minutes to defend their picks and their team, talk about why everyone should pick their team as the best. So, without further ado, I'll start Kobe's video. You guys can all see this? Cool.
What's up, y'all? I'm sorry I can't be there live, so I'm doing the next best thing, leaving a recording of why my all-campus draft is the best. My team is the most diverse and experienced team. Line 1 is led by Ian and Serena, two elite DA players. They bring a Northeast style of play to this team. Ian is a Jake Archibald type. He's able to drive. Where he shines is his passing and shooting ability. Being a West player, I've handpicked players that would pair well with Ian's playing style. Elijah and Mel's speed and catching ability blows everyone away. They're able to break away from their defender and to be in scoring position to receive a perfect pass from Ian. Cal made it to the finals of the USQ Cup 12 off of Elijah being able to catch and score absolutely incredible passes from Ryan Fenning. And him and Mel will be able to do the same thing on this team, with Ian leading them. To add sides to this line, I've chosen Cameron Bombard. He's an absolute monster of a driver and is the leading force between Utah State University's regional gold in the 2018 season. Him and Ian are both exceptional ball carriers. They both have experience playing behind the hoops and can thus both switch up ball carrying to add diversity of play to this team. As for the beaters, I've had the pleasure of playing with both Serena and Justin. Serena, another phenomenal DA player, was the lead beater when her and I played together, and I can promise you she is absolutely elite. Her innate skills on pitch, matched with her leadership, makes for a deadly combo. I chose Justin, another West player, to be her partner because of his adaptability. He is the most difficult West beater to play against because he can switch his style and still be amazing. For this reason, he is a perfect partner for Serena. Moving on to line 2, which is all about sides. This line is led by Eric Reyes and John Molina, two players who have the most experience of anyone in this draft. Eric has played with Team USA and John has played with the Austin Outlaws. This line will truck through any team thrown at this line, with Eric as one of the best drivers in this draft, being bolstered by Hayden, Avery, and Cameron Villamil. This is an absolute Texas line. Granted, they do come from different programs, but with region familiarity and a month to practice together, this line will be able to body up any other team. Emma Wolf, being a very strong engage beater, and John having the experience that he does, this beater pair will clear lanes for this drive-heavy team. Moving to the seeking line, I have Tony, a vastly underrated seeker. He is able to make big catches for his South Carolina team with very little time with the snitch, and he will bring that intensity to this team, along with Eric and Justin for seeking depth. And finally, to show the vast diversity of play style that my team has, with 3 top-tier male beaters and Caroline to deepen the female chasing line without any drop-off, I have the option to play a double male set. And even better, with 2 elite beaters from Tufts who have experience together, Serena and Emma, I have a deadly double female set that I will be sure to use in this draft. Overall, my team is the most diverse in terms of playing style. And finally, and most important, we have the most experience in terms of playing Quidditch at the highest of stages. Ian and Serena have both won MLQ championships, and they will be leading line 1. And Eric and John have so much experience playing in the Southwest, and they will be leading line 2. Thank you for listening. Love y'all.
All right. So that was that from Kobe. What were our thoughts on Kobe's statement? Anyone got any rebuttals?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agreed with a lot of what he said. Obviously, his beating pair, his double female beater set that he can go to is absolutely lethal. And just the sheer size and experience that he has with John Molina and Eric, as he did point out, who've been playing for years now. That's you can't replicate experience, obviously, and for them to have been played at the highest level, where with Eric in Team Mexico and John Molina playing for Cavalry and Outlaws, that's absolutely amazing. His team is very, very good, and yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed with his team, so that's just me.
All right, that was nicer than I expected for a rebuttal. I was
Oh,
expecting
see,
all the
hold up.
but you know, I guess that works too. Let's go with Serena next. Serena, why don't you tell us about your team and defend it?
My first line is headed up by Hayden Boys, Frank Minson, Carly Kleppen, and Matt Cooper. Carly and Matt played together, and Carly's a great. She's so fast and she's so quick, and I think she's going to be great. The hoops and that chemistry already with Matt is just, I mean, can't deny it. Sorry, I'm just looking. Yeah. With the Tufts players, I've actually drafted a couple of Tufts players, and my intention is an incredible ball handler. Actually, all of the chasers I've drafted are really versatile, be really confident with their hands. I love, and I think they could really play anywhere around the hoops. And I think with my month of training, I would definitely work on all my chasers kind of being pretty comfortable, either ball handling or being behind the hoops if that's maybe not something that they're super comfortable with. But I think all of my chasers are great. They can drive. You've got John Parrish. That guy is a tank. Like, he might not look it, like he's not the tallest guy out there, but he can get through a defense, and he has proven time and time again. Same with Dana Dixon. Oh my God. They are just absolutely incredible, and I would love to see where they are. I have Dana on second line, headed up by Mike Devine, and also Donovan and Athena would be on that second line, as they are in real life on Tufts. Athena was my second pick, but as the draft went on, I realized, and with Donovan available to me, that would be like, that just, again, undeniable chemistry there with those two in my second line. In terms of seeking, I'm going to put Matt out there first as seeker. And like, if you have seen it's not his highlight reel, but it might as well be, from US Cup 12. That guy can catch a snitch. And if he can't, I'm going to just hurl this other huge seeker at the snitch, with Mike there. So I think I've got a pretty intimidating seeker line with a pretty well proven record of a catch record. In terms of beaters, I love my two pairs of beaters. I've got Heather and Zane, again, already a well-established beating pair. I think they're very versatile. And I think what's crazy is that I was able to get Tom DeMuth and Ray Barnes as a pair, and I've never seen them play together, obviously, because they come from very different regions. I have personally played with Tom in a couple of other fantasies, and I am blown away by his physicality, but also his ability. He can be the engage beater as well as the support beater. And with Ray also having crazy physicality, crazy aggressiveness, and she also commands the pitch super well. I'm really interested to see Tom and her work together, switch off on those roles, but they also are both incredibly smart players, which is why I think even though they both fit both roles, they will mesh well together. And they can really kind of go up against anything that anybody throws at them, because they are super adaptable. And I have a lot of confidence in both of those pairs. I also think in any snitch on pitch situation, I am super confident with both of those pairs. Again, Heather and Zane having a lot more experience together playing, but I would definitely take that month along with what I said about training up all my chasers to be playing every position or every spot on the field as a chaser, with my Ray and Tom beating pair as well. So, yeah.
All right. That was a great summary. Does anyone have anything in response to that?
Yeah, I have a question. What makes you feel so comfortable on pitch When I don't know, it seems like the seekers you have, they're great at seeking, but you don't really have a dedicated like true seeker. So do you think that'll hinder you at all?
So for my seekers, Matt is going to be my first round seeker. I'll sub him in first. But I have John Parrish as his backup just in my lines, and I think subbing John in for him gives Matt plenty of time to rest right up to snitch on pitch without compromising any scoring ability, without compromising any of my physicality. John is just as capable a player as Matt, and if we need Mike, I've got Hayden as my first string keeper.
All right, good answer to that. Why don't we go to Naresh next?
Cool. Is it cool if I share screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
Came prepared. He's got the hype video. He's got the PowerPoint. I'm not.
I don't have a PowerPoint. I do have like a 5-page paper that I wrote.
Wow.
So there is that.
All
right.
He's on 5 minutes.
All right, cool. Yeah. So it's 8:00 right now. 8:05. Is that cool? All right,
Correct.
cool.
I love this.
All right. So one of the things that I guess the biggest thing that the analysts had to say about my team was the fact that they just don't see how this was all going to come together, because I was drafting players from each region, right? My original goal was to draft a player from each region and just claim I'm the most diverse team there is. And I came really close. I drafted people from 6 different regions, and yeah, that was probably hard for a lot of people to see, but I took the best players from each region and I took them based on the systems that they played in college, right? So the way I divided up my system is I was building defense up, right? So I was building a man defense and a 2-2 defense. So if you guys look at my 2-2 zone, I have Leo Freed playing keeper, Christian Cortez and John Sheridan at the 2 up top, Ruthie Polio at hoops, Emmanuel Curtin and Kylie Mincer at beater. The reason why these players were specifically selected was because of their experience playing the 2-2 zone. And obviously we've seen how much the 2-2 zone has taken over the sport. So every single person on this line specifically is very, very good at the 2-2, especially with Leo and Christian both coming from UTSA and Harvard, who pretty much have won most of their games with the 2-2 zone. And then John Sheridan and Ruthie also play 2-2 zone with Mizzou and UMD. And so when you break down the actual talent on the team, I have a point defender. I have 2 point defenders on each line. Specifically for the 2-2 zone, it's Christian Cortez and John Sheridan. John Sheridan is a Team USA national developmental player, and he was selected for a reason, because this dude can flat out play lockdown defense. And Christian Cortez is, if anyone has seen him play, watch the hype video if you haven't. If you've seen him play, you know this dude was absolutely clamps. He was absolutely amazing. He's a lockdown defender. And then that's not to say, and those are the 2 up top defenders. And then we have Leo, who, if he's a rookie, but this dude was big, he was lanky, he was tall, he was just a freak. He was so good at playing hoops for Harvard, and was a main stalwart in why their defense was as good as it was. And then Ruthie might just have the best hands in the entire damn team. She's ridiculously good. She's very, very smart, and she's just a great player. And this is for my defense. And then when it comes to beating, obviously Emmanuel and Kylie might not be big names, but they're both players that fit the 2-2 very, very well. With Emmanuel playing a chaos type beater, where if you've seen this man play, he's just everywhere, absolutely everywhere. This dude's he just thrives on chaos. And Kylie, she was an anchor for the Rutgers defense. She was someone who just adapted to every sort of stylistic type of beating, and she's someone who's very physical and can throw. I mean, I've broken this down by each player, so let's just go into the second string before I run out of time. The second string is where not the second string, because I don't want to call it the second string, because each string can be their own starting line. This is the man defense, where it's Jonathan Garcia Rivetta. If you've seen him, the dude's built like an NFL linebacker. Daniel Belton, also built like a halfback. Davis Rowe, probably one of the fastest players in Quidditch in college. Landis Walther is just, she's amazing, absolutely amazing. She will level anyone that she has in front of her. And then we get into the beaters, Rachel England and Kobe Kendall. these two are probably some of the most aggressive beaters that I've seen, but they're aggressive, but they're not stupid. I think that's a very, very important distinction, because oftentimes aggressive beaters often make way too many mistakes, but these two, when you watch the film, these two are absolutely brilliant. They're super calm, they're collected, but then when they play, it's just a burst of energy absolutely everywhere. And so with this team, it's just a run and guns type of offense where they're just gonna we have aggressive beaters that are absolutely gonna blow up plays, and then Davis, Daniel, and Jonathan are gonna run through people, and then Landis is always gonna be there in the exact right position wherever she needs to be. And then the defense part of it is you're not getting past this defense. Davis Rowe is one of the best point defenders in the Southwest, and Daniel Belton is one of the best point defenders in the West, right? And I have such good – and so these guys, right, they primarily play a man defense with their schools. And so because they play a man defense, the chemistry-wise, they're already familiar with that system, and they'll be fine. And I have a month to get these people together. Snitch on pitch, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Snitch on pitch, I have 6 seekers on my team, right? I have Daniel Belton, Kobe Kendall, Christian Cortez, Leo Freed, Maya Heinebow, and Thomas Jaws. Let's call him Jaws. I have Jaws. And one quick thing about Jaws is I know he was the last person selected, but Jaws has 19 in-range snitch catches in 2.5 years. And if I have him coming off the bench, then you just know how good my team is. I know I want to get into more, but it's 8:05, and I will respect the time that I have.
All right. Do we have any questions for Naresh? If not, I've got one.
I bet.
All right. So you said your second line was like your run and gun type line. Was your first line a slower line then?
Yeah, primarily. So with our offense, the way we're gonna run this offense is with the Boston Knight Riders, or the MLQ Boston type offense, the way they ran MLQ championships last year, where it's constant movement, it's constant off-ball cutting. And I think for both lines, this is an offense that works because the Boston offense is something that can be replicated. And I know that because Rutgers' offense was based off of that. And if our Rutgers coaching staff could teach people that have been playing for like 3 or 4 months this Boston offense, then I'm very certain that with the level of athletes that I have on this team, that Boston offense is going to be absolutely amazing. And we saw what they did when they won the championship last year. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that the first line is slower. They might be running that traditional Boston offense a lot more than the line number 2 would, because I feel like line number 2 would primarily be what Texas THC Heat did their first year playing, where they were just run and gun. They were fast break for days, transition goals. And I think that's how the 2 lines set up. And so, yeah, I think that answers that.
Yeah, because like I guess as a follow-up, like watching a lot of Harvard film, Leo played really well on offense in transition, right? Playing off of his beaters who would just like wreak havoc. Do you foresee any issues running a slower offense with Leo as your primary ball carrier?
Oh, definitely not. Because I've also watched a lot of Harvard offenses, and he's played off ball fairly a decent amount of time, and he's shown that he could do that. But the thing is, they can slow it down, but with the athletes that they have in his line with Ruthie, John Sheridan, Christian Cortez, they can go fast if they want to. I honestly don't care, because with this line, it's a blitzkrieg. It's absolutely, we will run it down your throats, because with Emmanuel Curitin beating and Kylie Mincer backing him up, Emmanuel's chaos, bro. Anyone that's seen Emmanuel beat knows he was able to go up against Lulu and Max and play them, and he held his own against them when Terminus visited Oktoberfest in October, obviously. But yeah, I'm not worried about Leo fitting into this offense, because I think with a set system that I've established, everyone's going to thrive.
All right, good answer. Let's move on to Fiona's team, the Carol Baskins. Fiona, do you want to talk about your team, maybe your team name, or just like how your team is going to fare?
Okay, before I start, can you hear that in the background?
No.
Okay. My dad's like low-key playing the sax.
Okay. When you said that in the background, you pointed to Carol Baskin, and I didn't know if this was like a joke. I was so
I have
confused.
Carol Baskin right here.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so obviously there's a ton of talented players that have been drafted. And I think that it's not controversial to say that these games will be close. They're going to be in range, and it's really going to come down to that snitch on pitch and those seeker catches. And what some of the other GMs have discussed, and I'm sure the others will discuss in the future, is that month of training. But I think my team is best poised to make the best use of that month of training. I think a lot of fantasy teams where they go wrong is they play as individuals, not as a team. But like I've drafted myself, and I've drafted myself as a player, but because I'm on my team, I can coach from the sidelines and on the field. I have 3 years of coaching experience from RPI. So obviously there's been a lot of really talented players drafted in this fantasy tournament. And I think that all of these games are going to be really close in range. And so it's going to come down to that month of preparation and to our preparedness for snitch on pitch. I've coached RPI for 3 years. So I think drafting myself, I'm not only drafting myself as a player, but I'm also allowing myself to make use of my coaching experience, because I can coach on the field and off the field. And I know that a lot has been said about the importance of non-playing coaches, and I totally agree, which is why I'm going to be bringing on additional coaching staff to handle subbing while I'm playing in the game.
Hold up. Keep going. I'm sorry.
They didn't say that we couldn't do that, so I am. The other thing that sets my team apart is I think we have so much experience in playing those close in-range snitch on pitch games. Soup and I, we've never played on a team together. We've played each other so often in those snitch on pitch games. Like we've had games where we're just staring at each other, waiting for the other one to make a move because we know each other so well. And I think that the chemistry we would have together would just be like off the charts. And you have Tess and Bradley, who are a beating pair and already have that chemistry built in. We have Henry Bayer Benson as like my first line seeker, who is so talented. I've been unfortunately on the receiving end of his talent. He's so good. Not only that, but I also have Hayden Boys as another option, and I have Madison as a third option. And I think with 3 really talented seekers, we can really put in those long stitch on pitch moments. The other third thing, I guess now that I was thinking about and taking into account when I was drafting my players, is I really built my team around our chasing line, around our 2 female chasers, Ellie and Vanessa. And I chose them specifically because they're not only are they really talented, but they bring such different skills to the table. Ellie, when she's around hoops, she likes to dunk, but she's also a really good ball carrier. She's really good at like moving the ball and seeing the field. She just has been ball carrying for RPI this last semester, which is why you might not have seen her that much. Vanessa is such a great shooter. She has like, you know, these spots around the field where she likes to shoot from, and we call them the 5th pomo, because it doesn't matter that she's not in like a real pomo, because she gets the ball through the hoop anyways. And so I've drafted these people specifically knowing that they have the talent to get the ball to those people and to get the ball through the hoop.
Right, all right.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for Fiona? No? All right. My question. Oh, sorry, what?
You didn't ask me about my team name.
Oh, yeah. What's the deal with the Carol Baskins?
God, I wish I knew. I put it up for a vote, And I was like, yeah, vote for a team name. And so my vote was originally the Fighting Poodles, because I have a poodle and she's really cute and she's very fierce. And Tessa was like, let's be the Carol Baskins. And it took off.
All right. All right, so that's Fiona's team. Next up, we've got Kellen.
All right, 8:15, 5 minutes, bet. So I just like to start off everyone by saying hello. How are you doing? I want to say thank you in advance. Now that I'm starting my victory lap, because I already know ahead of time once you see this team that there's no way any other team should even come close to being considered to beating my team. And let's start off simply off the basis that this is a college draft, correct? So outside of maybe a couple of outliers, like save the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, most players in this draft haven't really proven themselves outside of a single team, right? So we don't know for sure if a multitude of players are going to be able to adjust and fit into different systems or all that. So simply off the fact alone that my team is going to be able to save so much time not needing to create our own identity is already putting us steps ahead of every other team, right? Because my team is a very clear identity set. We have 2 clear lines with a couple of other, dashes of excellence from all over the country to help enhance each of these lines, right? Now, to start off, we have, I don't know, you could say maybe the best player in college right now, right? We have the one, the only, the GOAT, Daniel Williams. Oh, just a legend of a beater. Extremely aggressive, but also extremely intelligent, so adaptable. He makes you weak in the knees, he's incredible. And that's all before I even bring up his teammate, his beating partner, the Shania Carroll of Texas A&M University. Have y'all heard about Shania Carroll? If you wanna see a beater, put in some work. And on top of that, Shania has experience beating with crazy athletes, because she has to be with that guy, what's his name? Like Connor McIntyre or something? Yeah, just some athlete, She knows how to deal with that. She knows how to, take her space and get those beats in. So you have just an incredible beating duo of Daniel and Shania leading a line of UTSA talent. That's crazy, because this UTSA talent is going to be able to mesh so well with Daniel Williams. They already know how he likes to play. I'm sure Shania will be able to learn this UTSA offense, right? But the scary part is this qualifying line is headlined by the best off-ball player in college today. Yes, I am saying that. I don't care if it's a hot take. Casey Beavers is the best off-ball chaser in college today. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. This girl, all she needs is someone to just dot her up all over the field, and that ball is going through the hoop. And boy, do I have a surprise for you. To throw to Casey Beavers is the human dot-making machine, Matthew Blackwood, the Southwest joint leader in assists. Are you kidding me? Oh, but wait. At Texas, where Casey plays, they have 2 really good athletic chasers on the side who, can go and get their own goal, So who's going to replace them in this offense? Come on, y'all. Y'all didn't think I would go get 2 bucket getters? I got the Carlos Prado, bucket getter. I got the Southwest leading goal scorer, Tyler Slips Zreet, bucket getter. That's just the first line. Let me hop over to the second line real quick. Then we have the best team in the Southwest. I say best because they won the regional championship. And you have the regional championship winning team in the Northeast. These are the only 2 divisions that have a national championship team represented by them, right? You got the NYU line. You have Seamus. You have Seamus Slade. Kate Martinez, who play oddly similar to John Parrish and Athena Mayor, being that they're both great ball handlers and know how to get their own goal. And I say that because who else do I have to lead this other line than the starting keeper for Tufts, Finn McGargan, another bucket getter, just crazy shot making playmakers. He's just gonna be giving out the dimes all over the field. But wait, there's more. Kate Martinez playing with her duo, her partner in crime, Shelly Laurie, the two girls who, one of the most important parts of this NYU team for the last 2 seasons. As soon as they are out, as soon as they're injured, our form just dips incredibly. But then you have Antoine Jerome and Justin DeWick playing a double male beater set. Oh my goodness, just running all over the pitch, controlling the control. Oh, it's just going to be beautiful. Because after you go through all that, you have to come on snitch on pitch. Oh my goodness, imagine a snitch on pitch where you have Daniel Williams, arguably the best player in college, running around with Justin DeWick, the literal Missouri show. Oh my goodness, just wreaking havoc all over the pitch, just giving me the best seeker in all of the country, all the time I need to catch a snitch. And ladies and gentlemen, when I say I'm the best seeker in the country, I don't mean to brag or anything, but there's not many seekers out here making snitches, wet the bed and shaking their boots before they have to play against me. Oh my goodness, then you have a line of Kay Martinez playing with Casey Beavers, playing with Tyler Reed and Seamus, and then we have Leanna from BU coming in with the extra depth, who also just dots up all over the field. I end on one simple question. Do you honestly believe that you can put this team out of range? Because if not, I'm sorry in advance, but you're just not winning that game. I rest my case. Thank you.
Wow, that was intense for sure. Do we have any responses to Kellen's bold claims here?
Kellen, I was a huge fan of that defense. I love the energy you brought with it. And I've got nothing bad to say about your players. However, I do have a question for you, is that in a public forum on Facebook, you did call for people to PM you to have you bribe them in order to vote for you. And I would just like to ask, in this public setting here, this public recorded setting, how many people did you bribe to vote for you?
So I call me there. I just wanted to say on the record, for legal purposes, that was a joke. Just strictly for legal purposes. But
of course.
If you have any doubts, please follow up with me after. I'll be sure to, clear everything up. But thank you for also reminding me, though, that that conversation also included my backup seeker. So just in case you had any doubts about my seeking, which is, understandable. I have the Southwest Seeker of the Year, Daniel Williams, backing me up, just in case y'all forgot.
Well,
Thank you.
Kellen gushed a lot about someone who he called the best player in college. Someone else who might have that title is up next. So we got Tate K coming in with his defense.
Oh, you don't need this. Not part of I'm not enticing any drama here. Yeah, shout out Kellen and Naresh. I love the way you guys kind of set up your teams, because is exactly I'm going to take bits and pieces and use them in mine. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Cool. You guys see it?
Yep.
Cool. So I already know I'm going to get hate. I'm the Texas guy. Everyone's tired of Texas. No one likes Texas. Whatever. But, if this was all about, popularity, I'm not going to win that. But this is supposed to be a draft where we're figuring out what team is going to go out there and wipe the floor. And guess what? Texas does that year after year after year. And so that's kind of where I put my baseline for my team. So first bullet point, chemistry, right? So out of all the 14 players that I've drafted, 10 out of the 14 players have played together in some sort of way. And so that kind of sets me up to, rather than develop chemistry over this whole month, which a lot of people want to talk about, shout out Tad Walters for talking about how chemistry is super important. I can instead not develop, or I don't have to worry about that as much. Instead, I can prep and start planning for what these other GMs who are so foolishly letting me know what they're going to do I can start prepping for that. And I've got this first right off the bat, I've got this Texas line that you can very obviously see. And then I also have the Texas of the North. I've got Maryland, So that's kind of how I wanted to build this team up. I had a specific picture in my mind and a goal. And I know that I'm not going to be able to completely draft the whole Texas team because everyone's going to draft them because they're so good. So I need to start kind of picking pieces from other places. So chemistry, we've got it. Male beating core also, just a shout out to our male beating core. All Texas players, Richmond and Jack, both have played in a national championship game, played minutes, played snitch on pitch, have earned it. Sam Selly led Austin Quidditch the year that we won to Sweet 16, and Fiona knows they were on the verge of going to the Elite Eight, which, if they got past RPI, I have no doubt it would have been an all-Texas final. But yeah, so chemistry. We also got comfort, right? So we're bringing all these players in, and, I'm catering my play style and the philosophy that I'm developing for my team to my players' strengths and their prior experiences, right? So I've got my Texas line. They know what to do. They know the play style. They know the defense right there. Then I also have my Maryland 2-2 zone, right? So I've got Noah, the only Maryland player, but I've kind of it's a Frankenstein version of Maryland's top line, where John Alvarez is playing the part of John Sheridan. Ian is playing Mac Morgan at keeper, and Noah Rindock is playing himself, quaffle-wise, right? And then the Texas line, right? I've got John Anderson, JJ, and Aiden. All have played on the game's biggest stage, and they know what they're doing. I don't have to worry when I send them out there. I can just say, yo, go ball, and they're going to do that. And then I also have, I forgot about mentioning this in my Maryland one, but I'll jump back to it real quick. I got Carson Dietz too, played in the 2-2 zone at UTSA. She knows that play style. Same thing with Mackenzie O'Neill, who would be her sub to slide in, or depending on matchups, I have that flexibility to switch. She plays that same kind of style at A&M because everyone's doing 2-2 now. And then I have Isabel Moran, who fits the part of a cutting chaser with great hands that has great timing. And she does a great job in that facet. And then beater line. So top Texas beater line that we got going on here. We got Jack Wang, who, I don't know if you guys know this. Jack is like, I can't wait for Jack next year to get his spotlight because he has to play. I'm on the same team as him. Jack is such a dominant beater, and it's completely undersold how good he is. And I got Megan Orsock, who plays the support beater role really well. And she has kind of had, like, at A&M, beaters go in and out. She hasn't had a consistent set beater that kind of helps complement her play style. Jack is the perfect beater for her. And they're gonna do their thing, and they're gonna go ball out, right? And then in my Maryland 2-2 zone, I've got Sam Selly and Tessa Mullins, where Sam is playing the role of Zane Bila, right? Same kind of speed, very aggressive. But the cool thing with this is that I've got Tessa, who can also do the same thing. She plays an engaged beater style with Emerson. And I have flexibility there where I don't have to say, Sam needs to be that engaged beater the entire time. I can have Tessa go out, or I can have Sam go out, push out 2 quick minutes, and I can bring in Richmond Keeling, who plays a more passive role, right? So we can let Tessa be the engaged beater and Richmond be the support beater in that sense, right? Yeah, and so next I got flexibility, right? So everyone's comfortable. Everyone knows their play style and what they're coming into, right? So Ian, Noah, John Alvarez all played in the zone. Same as Carson and Mackenzie. John Anderson, JJ, Aiden, Isabel have all played in that Texas-style defense. I bring in them in, and they're comfortable. But I also have flexibility, right, where I can move these players to different spots, right, with different matchups depending on what I want to do. And the players still complement each other. So I can move together maybe John Alvarez, JJ, and Mackenzie in a line who played at League City. Or I can move in Tessa and Jack, where Tessa could maybe fill in the role of Kylie McBride, who's a very good engage beater that complemented Jack really well too. And then Carson Dietz plays that can play man defense and can switch up with maybe the Texas style defense because in a 2-2, UTSA does a rotating 2-2, so and she'll come off the hoops and she'll guard people out in space, and she does a really good job at that, right? Yeah, and so seeking and snitch on pitch real quick also. I have proven talent. I don't have to worry about my beaters again developing chemistry. We practice. Sam, Richmond, and Jack have all practiced together. We've done primarily double male snitch on pitch, right? I don't have to worry about them. They played with John Anderson, who's going to be our starting seeker. He's got more length and technicality to his game, and then I've got John Alvarez coming out there with more speed and power. I have no doubt in my mind that championship group can go out there and dominate, but also I have Tessa Mullins, a great engage beater that thrives in that sense, and same with Megan Orsock, who has experience playing snitch on pitch, who can be the support beater with Tessa. And so, yeah, last thing also, just like, again, I know Texas, we all like to hate the Texas guy, right? But it's proven, like I'm going out there, I mean business, you know? And so like, we get dubs.
Oh my
you know?
God.
And so I don't want to understate that, right? This is fun, it's fantasy, whatever, but you know, my team's gonna go out there and we're gonna mean business.
All right. Yeah, meaning business outside of EOSQ Cup 11. But anyways, does anyone have any questions for Tate?
So
Yeah.
I have a question for Tate. Sorry, Serena, did I interrupt?
No, I was just gonna say I'm not sure the recording caught Tate's video, so I think audio to describe what just happened is Tate was holding up a Texas trophy to brag about Texas.
I would like to let the record show that Tate held up a singular trophy because Texas lost to U of R that one time, and I'm the only GM to have drafted players from U of R, including Justin King, who started that game in which Texas lost. My question is, Tate, what makes you think that you've learned anything from that loss?
Well, I'd like to point out that U of R didn't make bracket play last year as a defending.
Okay. Let's.
Real quick, and let me defend myself. As a team that came up short in the national championship, not only did we come out and win, we broke the Southwest curse, which everyone seems to believe in. For the regional, we came out and not only did we win a national championship, we played one game in range. So, yeah.
So I actually want to follow up on that. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, my bad.
I actually have a question about that. I'm so sorry, Serena. I know you had a question as well. So you're saying, you just said it yourself, where your team hasn't played in a in-range game in a while. So what makes you think that your seeker depth, or the lack thereof that you have, would be able to pull snitches compared to the other seeker lines that the other teams boast?
Well, I didn't say that we hadn't played in-range game in a while. I props to UTSA and Sam Houston, who have played us close in the Southwest this past season. But, you know, I have two not only just great college seekers, I have two MLQ seekers that have gotten it done. John Anderson, pulling an MLQ the last 2 years, coming off I believe it was a meniscus injury into MLQ this past summer, going out there and pulling snitches. John Alvarez doing the same thing. And also, like, this beat it, like, you can't teach experience, right, in this month. I can't teach championship pressure and experience. And so I don't have to worry about that because I got 3 championship level beaters coming out there in my males. And also I have Tessa and Megan, who I have full confidence if I wanted to roll out both of them in snitch on pitch, because they've both done the same thing. I have experience in high pressure situations in that facet.
Well, just a quick follow-up. I'm glad you brought up UTSA because Christian Cortez caught the snitch to beat you guys. That's all I'm going to say. And guess whose team he's on?
Oh,
Okay.
Hey, Naresh, how many seekers do you have again?
I have 6 seekers, so I have
Yeah,
depth in the
and Tate,
world.
don't you have less than that? I'm sorry, I'm really bad at math.
all right.
I've only got 2, but you also have to, like, again, snitch on pitch. I agree with, I believe it was Fiona that said these are all going to be in-range games, right? You have to deal with Josh Johnson, Ian Quincy, Noah Rindock, and Aiden Parsi, whoever I want to roll out there, and in my quaffle line. Like, good luck stopping one of them, snitch on pitch. So if it's in range, when snitch comes on pitch, it's not going to be in range for long. I'll just let you know that.
All right. Good answers by Tate here. Let's move on to Senna. Senna, why don't you defend your team a little bit? Yeah, you were muted, Senna.
Oh wait,
Um,
also
so,
Tate
yeah.
might want to stop sharing his screen.
Oh, back to you.
First of all, I think this was such a cool experience for me. Being able to watch film and kind of see what kind of talent there is outside of my own region was, I think, such a cool experience. And I was able to see what kind of talent is out there. And that being said, like I was able to I was able to draft Luke Meisner and Connor McIntyre as my first 2 picks. And that alone, I think, already won me this draft. You have the interesting thing about my team is it's going to be hard to prep against because we can diversify and do different lines, and I think that's really cool. You have chemistry with Luke and Jaden. They could play closely together. You have myself, Darian, and Laura. That's a Creighton core with, you can add like an Aiden Phipps or TJ Generate as another chaser. You have Tim and Connor who play with each other on Soldados. So I think you have a chasing line where you're not going to expect the same line that's going to come out every game. I think that's going to be really fun. You have Aaron and Laura that can both ball handle and be wing chasers. So I think everyone can play a different kind of game that they're used to. I think a lot of this month of training is going to be interesting because they get to play a little bit differently than what they're used to in their respective colleges. And I think that alone, I think is going to be really interesting to see. I don't think anyone's going to outscore me, first of all. And that's going to be really, really fun to watch, too. Moving to my beaters, you have Kat and Baldy, who are one of the best beating pairs in the nation. Together, separate, like taking them apart and playing one on their own, I think is already a scary thing to watch. Putting them together is even worse. You have Lane Burgess, who plays insane amount of minutes in Virginia, and you have a freshman in Lauren from Creighton that's gonna could play an engaged style beat and also be more of a support role. And then you have your seekers and Jaden, who's gonna get you those big pulls when you need him. And then my second seeking, you can have Connor McIntyre is gonna step in. You can have TJ Jenner that's gonna get a round of seeking. So I think it's gonna be really, really, really fun to watch. I think in the end, I think all the teams have really good cohesion, and I will say that my team will win, but I think everyone has really respectable teams, and I think these GMs did a really good job of making their case.
All right. Good work on that. Anyone have any responses to Senna?
Yeah. So Senna, as the resident favorite child of all the analysts every week, for always just picking like the biggest names, I'm sure that you're well aware that your team is very popular based on the fact that you have a lot of big names, a lot of athleticism. But I'm personally curious as to how you think a lot of these big names are going to gel together, because you have a lot of good pairings, on like your chaser lines and your beater pairs and all that stuff. But all in all, I don't really see much cohesion across your positions. I don't see much cohesion in general across certain lines. So I'm just curious as to whether or not you think you can keep up with all these teams that have a lot more chemistry than yours does.
Well, I think with the month, you have 5 rookies in this team, and I think as a rookie having an experience like this where you have a month to work with the best of the best around you will only make yourself better. And I think with the athletic talent I have, giving them more knowledge and being able to pass to people that you don't normally play with is gonna give them more chemistry than you might actually think.
I actually want to follow up Kellen's point. So you did say, I mean, I obviously concede that your team's probably the most athletic team in the draft, and it's not close, the amount of value that you got.
Oh, I wouldn't concede that.
Well,
The rest does not speak for all of the GMs.
fair enough. Okay.
I'm going to give all of my team steroids.
Your team, okay, again, your team, as Kellen said, was pretty much crowned the best team by the analysts for the most part for a lot of the weeks. But my only question is, as kind of similar to what Kellen was saying, you have so many ball-dominant players that how do you see them actually working together? And then can you speak to the strategy that they would be able to potentially implement? Because obviously with such a diverse group, how are you going to actually get them together other than like when they're actually on the field?
I did think about the argument of having too many ball handlers on my team. I think ball handling is not a bad thing. I think that gives you even more of a weapon. Like you can go into mismatches using pick and rolls. I think the important thing is you're gonna have those drive and dish situations. You have shot takers. So I think I think it'll be interesting. You have good talent across the board. I won't be able to speak to how they're going to gel together, but I think this month is going to be huge, especially for my team. Hope that answers your question.
I have one quick question. One quick one. So you drafted Luke Miser first pick. I don't know if you know this, but he's an actor, and usually actors are huge divas. How are you gonna he's probably gonna need a chair, like an area for food, makeup. How do you plan on dealing with his divas? Because I've seen these other teams, there's no divas I really can tell on these other teams, You have the biggest diva of them all.
He's my number 1 pick, so he can have everything he wants. It's coming straight out of me. So
there it is.
All right, good answer. And finally, let's move on to Zeke. Zeke, tell us about your team.
Yeah, before I start, I would just like to say that I am wearing at least 2 times as many suits as anybody else on this draft. Somebody said they were going to wear a suit, and I said, I'll do you one better. I'll wear 2 suits. And I came through on that promise, just like I'll come through on the promise that I'm going to win this game. Because I did treat it like a game, and I think I've already won. So let me show you why. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, boy. Okay, team utility. Alrighty. How do I? Oh, boy. Where's the – here it is.
Team Utility. Is that based on our sponsor, Utility Apparel? Thank you for sponsoring this wonderful draft, Utility Apparel.
It's actually just a coincidence, but sure. So what I was about to say was that I made it a priority to draft players who I thought had the most utility and the most chemistry. And nobody can see my fingers except the people on the stream. But so these are the people I drafted in the order I drafted. And the first pick I made, maybe not the greatest pick, but I thought if there's one Team USA player out there, might as well just get him on the first go. Once that was out of the way, I drafted somebody who I know to be one of the most utile players in the game, and that's Nick Kaufman. He plays all 4 positions. He was one of the best keepers in the Great Lakes last year, and his team didn't need him to keep as much this year, so he switched to beater, and he was one of the best beaters in the Great Lakes this year. So I thought that was a great first pickup, or a great second pickup, first addition to my quaffle line, and he could go beater if necessary later on the line if I didn't like what was going on down there. Then picked up Allie Messenger because nobody else seemed to wanted to pick her, even the person that had picked Danielle Williams. Not going to say who that was, but, it happened, and we all were there. Then I picked up, again, the second pick on the second week with somebody who I know has really, really high utility. Brian McClanahan can beat and chase, right? So now I have 2 high-quality quaffle players that can also go beater if necessary, if we wanted to run some sort of matched pair rather than the standard mixed pair. And then it just kind of continues on down on the line. Like I said, the second thing that I drafted for was chemistry. So my next 2 picks, really high-quality chaser that can also seek, and a unguarded chaser that normally plays with him. Next pick after that, ultimate value pick, and now I have my beater core completely filled out. Next pick after that, almost even more of a value pick, and he plays well with my second overall pick, Nick Kaufman. And at this point, I have all my beaters ready to go, and I just need to start drafting quaffle players. So where's there a almost full line of quaffle players that are ready to be picked that nobody's picked yet? University of Michigan, baby. And so I took 3 of them alongside a really solid keeper that I think was a value pick. Then I had 2 full quaffle lines, and I was ready to pick seekers or other utility players, and I finished the draft with one of the best seekers and somebody who's really utile. So these are the default lines that I think we would be running, and I kind of ran through them quickly a little bit. Like I said, I think we do have 2 really strong beater pairs that would play together both before the snitch came out and then after as well. And if you can look here, we see the chemistry between the chasers. So we have 2 chasers, 2 sets of 2 chasers on the first line, which was brought up, and 3 chasers on the second line. And even after, if I get pulled to get in the lines for seeking, we still have a combination of Tyler and Ellie there. We also have the ability to switch up our lines if needed. Because we're so utile, because we have such good players that can move around, if we were to encounter a team that we thought we couldn't if they were going to play 2 male for their first line and we wanted to go to a matched pair system, I have confidence that our female beaters can take any second line across the board after looking at all of those teams. So if we needed to switch into 2 male, I think we could still maintain control and dominate before snitch floor with 2 female beaters. And then also we could then have 4 really solid quaffle players, and honestly any of those quaffle players on the second line in this scenario could play keeper, and you could even maybe switch mid shift if you wanted to, just to keep the other teams on their toes. Because of the utility that all the players have, we could put up a million different looks, and we could even say, okay, who are we playing? Do any of our players that can also beat, do they have this player's number? Do they have this team's beater's number? Do we think that they could succeed better at that beater 2 or beater 1 position? Let's sub them in, and let's either play them instead of one of our 2 main beaters, or go to a 2 male situation and just kind of use that utility that I built into the draft. And here's a little bit more of a breakdown of what we have going in terms of utility. This is 8 players that play more than one position, and 3 players that both beat and chase more than just keeping and chasing. So we also have 4 high-level seekers, and I think that this utility is key to our success. Another key, and this is just a summary of what we're going to do to win. I do think that it was said by analysts, and I agreed with it, and I did it intentionally. I think in fantasy tournaments, you have to start with beating. So I drafted, I think my 4 beaters were drafted within the first 7 picks. So I was a little shy on quaffle players at that time, but then by the time it came to draft my quaffle lines, I could just do it back to back to back, and I could get chemistry on my quaffle lines. So I do think we have the best beating core. That led to having chaser chemistry, especially on the second line, which is super important. I think some other teams will sort of just be piecing together their second lines and didn't really draft for a second line. I specifically saved the Michigan players because I think they would be slept on, and I drafted them all together in the second line. And then, like I said, I gave an example of a mixed line and a match line. We have more than 3 high-level seekers. And the other thing about this is we have those two distinct lines that I showed a second ago. The Kaufman, Jolly, Morgan, Potter line is more of a zone line. And then the Michigan line with Phillips is more of a man line, just based on what those players had done in college. And then, like I said, I have 8 players that can play multiple positions. So I don't think a team could prepare for us, because I don't think that they would know what we were going to do, because what we were going to do every single game, we would have a game plan that specifically targeted the weaknesses in their team. And we would do that by moving around our utility players and finding the weaknesses in the other team. I think other teams possibly could have drafted themselves into one system or maybe a slight ability to adjust. But I think my team has the best ability to adjust to whatever anybody else is doing. And I'm willing to make those adjustments because I have confidence in every player that I drafted.
All right. Nice PowerPoint. I also like the image you put on the top right of every slide. But yeah, does anyone have any questions for our GM here?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Oh, I'm sorry, Tate, go ahead.
No, you go. Naresh, you first.
I'm so sorry. So my only question is, your team's obviously very good, really good, but you said how your second line, or just like the last half of your draft, was primarily just drafted of Michigan players. Obviously, we're trying to shout out our own teammates. I completely agree with you there. But my thing is, are you going to say that your Michigan team or Michigan line can compete with an all-star team of the best players throughout the region?
Yeah, they are the best players in the region.
Hey, okay. That's
I mean,
fair.
we won, right? There were 2 players in our region that I never felt comfortable playing against, and I drafted them both before I drafted any Michigan players. And so, I mean, we have, in my opinion, besides Michigan's best beater, who's Ryan Aubert, who I couldn't draft because I didn't need a third beater at that point, and I knew people wouldn't know him and he wouldn't get as much good press as the beaters that I did draft, which is a whole nother thing. But basically, I drafted Michigan's best players, and Michigan is the best team in the Great Lakes. And the only 2 people that gave us any problems ever, I drafted them before I drafted any Michigan players. And I do believe that since Michigan was slept on in this draft, the Michigan players that I drafted at the time that I drafted them, including myself, were the best ones available, and they were the best line available, because I did draft a second line, which I don't know if anybody besides maybe Kellen did. He drafted a first line and a second line with 2 specific schools. I think that was a great strategy too, but I think I drafted a second line in a way that I don't think other people thought of doing.
All right.
Tate had a question.
I have a couple things I want to say real quick. So I was preparing Zeke for you to like shower me in compliments, kind of like Kobe did to Serena, but apparently I'm just okay, you know. So I have 2 quick questions, right? So your team utility, but you list only 8 players as actually being utility players. Ooh. So is your team a hoax? And second, how many minutes am I going to get at keeper? Because I need to play keeper.
Well, unfortunately, Tate, I couldn't find enough film of you balling out as a keeper to put you on the list of a keeper. Maybe next year, if you play for another college, maybe you can convince them to let you play keeper. And then if this draft comes around again, you can make it onto team utility. But I really do think, you know, the part of the issue I had was I felt like I picked female players that could play that were really, really good at one position and anchor the team around them. So I didn't want to try to draft a bunch of utility female players because I wanted the team to have an anchor that I could swap around. And so I decided to draft female players that were really, really good at their one position and also had chemistry with other male players at that position, and then swap male players around them to create other looks. But always know that the one consistent thing that we would have going was really, really strong female beaters and female chasers at the time we needed them and that we knew we could count on them when we needed them.
So I actually have a follow-up question.
Yep.
You said that you don't feel like other teams could prepare for you, but I'm wondering if your team can prepare to play as a team, because with so many utility players, for them to truly be considered utility, they have to practice those different positions, and we only have a month. And so now you're cutting that valuable time, in half or even in thirds, as some of them play 3 different positions. So how are you going to make sure that your utility team stays a utility team?
So I think the way I did that was trying to draft some chemistry onto the lines built in. So I think this was brought up at some other time. If you draft chemistry right away in it, like if you draft really good players that already have chemistry, they don't need to spend as much time practicing with the standard line. So we can maybe spend half the time practicing in that first set of lines that I showed as the standard or the default lines. And then we can spend the second half of the time or split it some other way so that those people can get the other looks in. But I think the key too is having that standard line that you can go to and that you can work off of, and then, like I said, swapping around that standard line, but having the frame of reference of this is the base technique, and then we're going to work little wrinkles into that with our utility players that all have chemistry with each other already.
All right, good answer. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us. So thank you, everyone, for your statements and your responses. Public voting will open soon. So voting will be split 50-50 between public voting and our panel of voters as well. And those will be announced soon as well. So thank you guys for listening in. Thank you again to our sponsor, Utility. And yeah, that's all for us. Take care.